Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. With skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony, she was adored by all who knew her. However, her stepmother, the queen, was deeply envious of her beauty. She possessed a magical mirror and would often ask it, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror unfailingly replied, "You, my queen, are fairest of all." As Snow White grew older, her beauty surpassed that of the queen. One day, the mirror declared, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." Consumed by jealousy, the queen decided to eliminate Snow White. She ordered a huntsman to take the princess into the forest and kill her. But when the huntsman came face to face with Snow White's innocence and beauty, he couldn't carry out the wicked deed. Instead, he urged Snow White to run away into the depths of the forest and never return. Frightened and alone, Snow White wandered through the dense forest until she stumbled upon a small cottage. Inside the cozy home, she found 7 tiny beds, 7 tiny chairs, and 7 sets of dishes. Exhausted, she fell fast asleep in one of the beds. When the 7 dwarfs, who lived in the cottage, returned home, they were startled to find Snow White sleeping there. These dwarfs, named Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey, listened as Snow White told her tale. They took pity on her and offered her shelter, warning her to beware of her stepmother. Meanwhile, the queen discovered that Snow White was still alive by consulting her magic mirror. Furious, she disguised herself as an old peddler woman and visited the dwarf's cottage, offering Snow White a poisoned apple. Trusting the old woman, Snow White took a bite and immediately fell into a deep, death-like sleep. When the dwarfs returned home, they were devastated to find Snow White in such a state. Unable to wake her, they placed her in a glass coffin and mourned her loss. Days turned into months, and Snow White lay in her glass coffin, seemingly forever asleep. One day, a prince, who had heard tales of Snow White's beauty and kindness, came upon the glass coffin while traveling through the forest. Moved by her lifelike appearance, the prince leaned down and kissed her. Miraculously, the kiss broke the spell, and Snow White awoke. Overjoyed, the dwarfs celebrated her return to life. Snow White and the prince fell deeply in love and returned to the prince's kingdom, where they were married in a grand ceremony. The wicked queen, upon hearing of Snow White's revival and wedding, was overcome with rage. In her fury, she confronted the magic mirror, but it shattered into 1,000 pieces. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after, and the 7 dwarfs remained her loyal friends, visiting often and sharing in their happiness. And so, peace and joy reigned in both kingdoms, all thanks to the purity and kindness of a princess named Snow White.